Hi there, welcome to another On the Sensors video. This is a different one this time. Rather than our deck content or how to Destiny or any of those sorts of things, today we have an interview with somebody you may know, DarkangelAz, from the ARH, A Renewed Hope official team. He is the global head of organised play, I believe.
Something like that.
That's what you like to be known as? Okay. We're just going to have a little chat and see what Az does, what he brings to the ARH team, a little bit about Az's history with Destiny, and going forward, what we can expect from organised play. So let's get to it. First of all, I'm going to have a beer because this is a relaxed chat. So I'm going to use my Millennium Falcon bottle opener.
Very nice.
And crack open a beer. So there we go. Okay, Az, welcome to the chat. Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for inviting me to be on and doing this today.
Most people in the UK know you. In the UK Destiny scene, you're very, very well known. In the European scene, you're very well known. And I noticed when you went to Worlds, you were also very well known, but as a judge, not as a player.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So could you tell us a little bit about your history of being a judge, how that sort of started, and then maybe some of the events that you've judged?
Yeah. When Star Wars Destiny sort of came about, Alex Watkins, who many people have heard of, came and spoke to me because I've been long involved in judging various card games and events, and my name had been recommended to him by a couple of people, somebody that might be able to run Destiny events for him. My experience with AG's Five Rings stuff.
Right.
Alex came to me and we had a bit of a conversation. I said, yeah, okay. And this was for the very first European Championships at UK Games Expo.
Right.
I was head judge and sort of overseeing all of that.
The one with the wonderful Darth Vader promo. That's still my favorite artwork on any Destiny card ever.
The one where we ran 10 rounds in a day to cut to a top 8 because that was the guidelines we were given.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the guidelines we were given were run 8 rounds one day and 2 rounds the next day, but I actually felt that people would want that less than they'd want to play 10 rounds in a day. Just come back for 2 rounds to maybe not make it.
That's a lot of Destiny, yeah.
It is a lot of Destiny, but it was a lot of fun. So yeah, I've been involved either head judge or part of the organising team for every single European Championships that they've done for Destiny. Right. All but one of the UK nationals because I wasn't available to judge for one of them due to a clash. I did play in it, but I couldn't do the whole weekend, which is one of the reasons I wasn't involved in that.
Right.
Multiple galactic qualifiers,
yeah,
and various store championships and primes and regionals.
Yeah,
I have been lucky enough to play in a fair few store championships and primes and regionals, so that's good.
But you're basically definitely one of the absolute rules gurus for Destiny because you would be the people that all the players would go to.
Yes.
Even the other judges would go to you with the call.
Yeah. I mean, and we're lucky enough with ARH as well that we have Nick Nelson, the Gandork, also involved with us, who fulfilled a similar role in the United States. And that's massively important to have people of that standing involved.
Yeah. And I mean, as well as judging, obviously you've got the experience of actually running OP events. Like the logistics of running a 200-person event is very, is a big job.
Yeah, there's a lot that happens behind the scenes that players never see, and they don't need to see that. It's like any other logistical setup. But you go to a sports event, when you're playing or you're spectating, you literally just want to turn up, do it, go home. You don't need to see everything that goes into the background. But there's a lot of moving parts that happen in all of that, and this is what I can hopefully bring to the party for ARH.
Well, I think you will. We'll talk about what that is going to sort of mean in a second. I mean, you were at Worlds in 2019 is where I'd met you at events before with you judging.
Yes.
But I think I got to know you properly a bit more at Worlds because there was a good group of UK players over and, European players over there. And, we all kind of bonded and had a great time.
Really good contingent. I mean, there's probably 14 or 15 of us from the UK, similar number from Denmark. You guys from Italy. It was proper community. Not to say a lot, and everybody over there was incredibly welcoming as well. Got to meet a lot of people that you'd only encountered in various forms of online media, Discord and Facebook groups, and to put names and faces and I don't know if any of you guys went to the big sort of like drink and meet up as well over in Worlds. That was a fantastic gathering.
Yeah, the Loops meetup with yeah, I was there. Oh man, I mean for me that was just like, because you play in the UK and part of the UK scene, and I'm in Scotland, so we've got our own little Scottish scene, and that was great. But actually, just like going over to kind of the epicenter of Destiny, the World Championships was like, I mean, for me, and that was the absolute peak. Sadly, it was during the droids meta, so but in terms of like socially, that was, it felt like Destiny was absolutely at the peak of its powers. It was a wonderful, great event. Little did we know at the time that was the last Worlds.
Yeah, there's a lot that can be,
The last FSG Worlds, I should say. Yeah,
there's a lot that can be said and a lot that has been said about the decisions that went into that. It doesn't really matter anymore. It's a shame that it didn't carry on. I understand the business aspects of it, but yeah, the game was very popular and still is. That's why we're here. Because, to be honest, if this was just like 20 people still wanted to play, we wouldn't be doing this.
How did you feel initially when that announcement was made that Destiny was gonna bite it from FFG official support?
This is gonna sound more morbid than it's meant to. A bit like when one of your elderly grandparents isn't very well, and everybody kind of knew that the end was coming because of the lack of announcements and everything else. And actually, it was kind of a little bit of closure for for them to say, okay, this isn't how the game was finished. What was, and I still think was very underhanded, was the way that they announced via the Facebook message that there would be no. That was very bad. But I also know that a lot of the people that would have handled better media relations at FFG had long since been dispensed with by then. So that's maybe some intern or somebody else just saying, just put this out there, and it's out there now and it's dealt with. But yeah, when the actual announcement game cancelled, well, okay, it's cancelled. When we're going to have this great party in 2020 in Roseville and say goodbye to things, and then
and that was
became what they were.
And that got cancelled soon after the planned goodbye from Worlds, which was disappointing for all of us. But it was only like 48 hours before ARH was kind of set up in the wake of the sort of the announcement. So
absolutely. And I wasn't initially involved at the start of that. I had other things that were sort of, and it was very gratifying that the people involved in that committee came and asked me to be a member of that and to sort of oversee and create how the OP program hopefully will work.
Yeah. What was it about Destiny that made you personally want to keep it alive, as it were?
I've not found a game that had an IP and a community that engaged me since the AEG's Five Rings sort of passed hands. And even though that carried on in a different form, it wasn't the same. Whereas I really like the Star Wars IP. It's got a lot of depth, it's got a lot of craft to it. But the gameplay and the people were just fantastic. And so I wanted to just be part of carrying that on.
Well, that's good. We're glad we're glad you are. Okay, so I guess at that point in the timeline then, ARH is kind of in its gestation period, and everyone's aware of it, and and that happens. When did you come on board as OP? How soon did they start thinking about organized play for ARH?
Shortly around the time that the first set was completed. I mean, there's a lot of process that went in, and I was aware of it and sort of peripherally involved a little bit. But they had a lot of setting up to do in that regard, and the guys that did that to try and make it right and to make it robust, and not just be a bunch of guys creating fan cards, to create a proper structure for how we're going to design, development, test, everything was going to work. And he was never going to be an early part of that, because I don't know if anybody's ever encountered something called Maslow's pyramid. It's got a hierarchy of needs. Google it if you want to get into it. Basically,
okay, I will.
Basically, the idea is if you start building the higher levels of the pyramid first, without the foundation underneath, it all falls apart anyway.
Okay, sure. So you've got that. You've got that. Well, I mean, a pyramid would mean someone's right at the top of that. So do you want to tell us a little bit for those who aren't so in the know with that knowledge, a little bit about ARH structure, how it kind of works, and you know.
So at the top of the ARH structure, there's an admin team. It's not one individual. That's a group of people, which includes myself, and there are other names that you'll know from the Discord of Elrathian, Gandok, Cruisin, Lanza, Aaron, a agent of Zion. I don't think I missed anybody, have I? Probably somebody somewhere.
Elrathian?
Yeah, I got out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody in that is involved in various aspects of design, OP, sort of events, etc. And basically, the committee that we kind of oversee and keep everything moving and running. Below that, there are other teams that deal with design, with production, with play testing, with balance. And some of those, they're a bit like Venn diagrams. They overlap in places, but not everywhere. So the guys on design, not all of them work on playtest. You want to have that separate. You need to have that distinction. There's a whole wonderful, absolutely, and I can't speak highly enough of my team that does production and art, guys that do all the card images and the promos and everything. I mean, I'll talk a little bit about that later on if I get a chance.
Yeah. I mean, the art seems to be getting better and better. I think we all saw the initial artwork for Faltering Allegiances, and some people had comments, some people, like varying levels of feedback and of constructiveness, but the jump from where that initially was to where we are now with the current art with the new sets is like amazing. I mean, it just looks wonderful. It looks like a professional outfit, which is what you want, I guess.
Yeah, I think that goes back to what I was saying about structure. If we didn't have that structure in place, we wouldn't be able to have made that adjustment to what people's expectations comes from. And I think a lot of that comes from when going through design and playtesting, people weren't necessarily bothered by what the cards look like. They're more interested in the mechanics.
Yeah.
But obviously, getting that out to a wider audience is a bit different. Do I need to move, by the way, because of the sun? Can people still see me?
Oh no, you look good. It's fine. It's fine. You're sun kissed. That's all.
I am. Sorry about that. Yeah, and that was I think that was a very quick pivot by the committee to adapt to that and to get to an art style which suited everybody better. And that's something we've refined over time as well. The process of how we do that, the slickness of that.
Yeah. So I guess that is that's a good illustration of the problems that any new committee for a game, or even any professional fully paid committee, which you guys are all volunteer, is going to face, is that you're going to make mistakes along the way. And then if you're lucky enough to correct them before it effectively gets published, then that's it. But there has to be an expectation, probably from your point of view, that the audience that it's for has to have a little leeway with you, that these things will happen. And that might come to balance of characters, it might come to artwork, it might come to general card design or power creep, or I mean even organized play. You're probably going to encounter some of these little hiccups.
Already have them on every one of those aspects. That is not something that we can avoid as part of a renewed hope. We don't have the resources that Asmodee have. We don't have hundreds of thousands of pounds to be able to put into hiring people and full-time designers. Every single one of us has a full-time day job. I mean, in various roles, which take up our time.
But saying that, it's not wrong necessarily for people to point out.
No.
When something maybe does need changed or fixed, or like with the artwork as an example. When that might be not quite to the expectations of the player base.
Yeah, we listen to everything that people say. And I think sometimes there's a perception that if somebody says something and it's not immediately acted on, that it's not listened to or heard, or that the feedback's not necessarily appreciated. It absolutely is. But we have to look at things both as a strategic level and at a macro level. So what works for one person, like in their particular play group, might not be the same feeling that local groups are getting elsewhere.
Yeah.
But we don't want those people to not tell us what they think. and their opinion's not valid, because it absolutely is. We try and make the best decisions we can based on our experience for the whole. It's like if you look at the sets that we've released so far, Faltering Allegiances and Redemption, some of those cards have needed balance. But our actual rate of cards that have needed balance is less than the ratio from the ones released by FFG.
Yeah.
Which tells me that we're somewhere along the right lines.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's just the nature of every single card game you'll ever play anyway, is that there's always broken things that playtesting don't pick up. I mean, way back from Pomaz with Spirit of Rebellion, that was immediately a non-interactive interaction that people hated because it was awful to play against. And all the way through to droids, and then all the Fateful Companion, resets and everything that could happen,
and myriad things in between. But the reality is that more testing will happen in the first 24 hours of any, and it applies to any card game in the history of card games ever, will happen in the first 24 hours of a set's general release than any amount of playtesting you could ever hope to do, by an order of magnitude. It's just, you can't test what the wider public will do. It's why
the ingenuity of the players.
It's also why no company ever tries to balance their open or infinite formats. It's just not worth the time and effort.
Let's go back to OP then. What are your plans? I mean, you're the head of OP, global head of OP. What solidly do you actually have in the plans for us all?
Right, absolutely right. So you guys have already seen that we released our first OP kit for physical play, which was a while ago. The second one of those, when I've got some time this week, the article will be going up on our website. The second one of those is available very soon to order. And that's part of our continuing plan to support in-person play, which ultimately is where the game continues and thrives from, is people meeting and playing in stores, around kitchen tables, and doing that. We want to try and
I guess
as much as
probably now more than maybe even the previous OP kit. Now, certainly in the UK, I know everyone all over the globe is going through different areas of what's happening at the moment, but maybe in America as well. It really feels like this month, next month, going into summer is where, you're starting to see people posting pictures saying, oh, playing again in person. So, I mean, it's almost like the next OP kit you're talking about here is probably a slightly bigger event than the previous one.
Absolutely. So we plan to do that. We plan to make those available continually for people to build in their groups to play locally. We start from High Stakes, and this is an exclusive. High Stakes will have its own in-person release kit that people can get and order. Some of those cards, that's not going to be available until the release date, because we don't want to spoil some of the cards that are in it. We want that surprise and that reveal.
Okay.
But from early June, that set will also be available to order. So people can do release style events like they used to do in the FFG days.
Great.
Obviously, through the pandemic, we've had a lot of focus on online events. Those are still going to continue from ARH in terms of our free release party events, which is still the crazy, the set's just been revealed, here you go, build a deck in 24 hours. Have
the best events,
just work it out as best you can. It's also interesting to note that playtesters do not succeed massively in those events in proportion to anybody else either. We've had those numbers. Like the last one had 3 of the top 16 were playtesters, for example.
Right.
Everybody worries about playtesters have a massive advantage. No, they don't. They really don't.
That's good to know. That's good to know.
So that's still good. We're still going to be able to continue to do those, hopefully as free events like we have done for the previous ones with a participation card. In terms of organised ARH events, our Galactic Open series that we did at Canto Bight was a massive success, and somewhat of a, I won't say a gamble, but I very much had to adopt a Kevin Costner approach to that, of like, let's try and do something spectacular, the old Field of Dreams idea, and let's see what happens. And everybody bought into that, quite literally.
Well,
I just want to address something here. I know that nobody's yet received the spot glosses that they got for that. There's a couple of reasons why that was. We deliberately left it until April 30th after the mid-cycle event for things like that, Partly because we wanted people to have the extra tickets from that, and also because it made it logistically easier for us doing all the organising and packaging in one go.
Mhm.
However, what happened with that is that the printing of that was a little more complex than we'd initially been led to believe. So this is one of those things that we learn from. So we wanted to
Yeah.
make sure that that was right for everybody, so they got the highest quality spot glosses, the kind of standard that FFG produced. So we had to go back and we had a bit of discussion with the printers of that, of how that works and the process that's. But everything's now been ordered. It's in the dispatch process, so people should start to be receiving some of those packages over the next week or couple of weeks.
Oh wow. Okay, that's good.
We are not, I've yet to finalise the date. We will be doing the next stop on the online Galactic Open Series in late summer at Tatooine, where there will be more new spot glosses available from High Stakes.
The new set. Okay.
Yeah, and one or two others from, and not however many we have left of our initial print runs.
Okay.
The initial.
Do I get a free Mandalorian spot gloss for doing this interview with you? Oh, come on, that's all I want.
Well, you're making an assumption that I'm going to do one.
Yeah,
Might be something else.
That would be the most popular spot gloss in the history of Destiny. So yeah.
We both know what the most popular spot gloss in the history of Destiny would be.
What would that be?
And there is no card for at the moment for that.
Oh, okay. Okay, intriguing.
Right. Where are we going to? We are going to do, when it's possible, in-person national championship events. We're starting to get together the team of national organisers for those kind of events, which will lead up to hopefully our in-person world championships next year. That is still very much pandemic dependent.
What sort of form would a national championship take? Are you talking about like a USA championship, a UK championship, a France championship, or are you thinking more like continental things like Europe or North America? Or
I think we can separate the United States into different regions.
Okay.
I think that's fair and realistic. Because if you had one US national championship and you put it in New York, that's so far from people that live in Arizona, it's just not even.
Yeah.
So we'll have to look at the US in terms of more of a regional area. But there'll be, and that was actually one of the reasons that Asmodee changed the names of those things to Grand Championships to deal with that issue.
Yeah.
So we're kind of working on those lines because actually it's a really good idea. The naming was stupid, but the idea is really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like in the UK, France, Brazil, etc. We try to have a national championship.
Okay, that's exciting.
Which is, yeah, I mean, I've got plans for it in the UK, and like I said, it's finding the right people to run those events because those people are going to have to do all the logistics themselves. We can't offer, we can offer support, but we can't offer practical help in a lot of regards, other than being able to buy the prize kit. So they have to be confident that their venue and their planning.
Yeah, I mean that might typically be in someone's larger local game store, for example.
Absolutely, But to be honest, since I'll probably be one of the people that's making the final decision on this, if people come to me with a pitch for an idea, if I'm happy that the venue and the person and everything else fits our criteria, then we'll sign off on it as being part of our championship series.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. Yeah, okay.
That championship series will have its own unique style of promo that will come with that.
Right. Just regarding ARH in general and possibly OP, where do you sort of see it happening or being in maybe 18 months' time? Nobody can predict 5 years' time. Destiny didn't even last that long, but maybe like 18 months, post Worlds in January, if that still goes ahead at LVO, where would you see ARH happening there? I mean, are we talking about rotation or what can you tell me?
There are internal discussions about how we will rotate. Obviously, we've got to get to the point where the number of ARH created cards makes sense to do that. I mean, certainly there's not going to be any massive revelations in this interview about how that's going to work.
Of course.
Sorry. That's just being said. I mean, most card games reach critical mass at around 1,500 cards in the card pool. That's at the point where it's just too many, and there are too many options for people and things always slip through the net. We want to keep the rotation works because it keeps meta vibrant and changing, and it also allows you to do that without the continual power creep. If anybody's ever played Yu-Gi-Oh, you'll just realize that. Never have, but I know enough about it to know that basically they just keep printing more and more powerful cards and banning ones that are over and above the curve. We don't want to be in that situation. But in order to promote good and interesting design, you have to have a reset at some point.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, everyone accepts that.
ARH
being
probably half the size of FFG sets, roughly. If we can continue to do that, we do have a plan for the future and of how our sets want to tie into each other and development forward. We're aware of a massive amount of new content and stuff that just gives us a wealth of options to work with. I mean, you've only got to look at the new Star Wars content that's just coming out in video media. Obviously, the 2 series of The Mandalorian, you've got the current Bad Batch stuff, season 7 of the Clone Wars. Next December, you got the Book of Boba Fett, followed by season 3 of The Mandalorian, or they're filming across the road, across the few 40-50 miles away from us. Kenobi. There's plenty of stuff for us to work with without
Cassian stuff. Rangers of the New Republic, is that what it's called? Yeah, all these different things. I mean,
the little thing there, Rangers of the New Republic has now been canned.
Oh, has it? Oh, I didn't know that. That's news to me.
That's probably because Cara Dune, Gina Carano upset too many.
Yeah.
And they've reworked that plot into other things.
Okay, well, we will see whether or not to expect a Cara Dune card in the next set from ARH. Who knows?
All I can say about that is that at ARH we don't offer a political opinion either way. So we look at the design, Star Wars lore.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll wrap it up. I'm going to ask you one question you might not want me to ask you, but I am going to ask you, maybe if you could give us maybe a one-word cryptic clue style thing about anything we might expect in the new set. Maybe a little spoiler, Rooney, from Maz? A little friendly spoiler?
Friendly spoiler. I think I probably already gave you one earlier.
Oh, okay.
Go back and listen.
Right. Well, that's a good reason to double the YouTube count then, hopefully. Cool. All right, Az. Well, thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate it. It's good, I'm sure, for many viewers across the pond to put a face to the name.
Thank you.
And it'll be good for all the UK and European players to see you again. It's always good to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I can't say enough. I want to actually get back to meeting people in person and us playing properly and stuff like that.
Oh man, I can't wait that as well. I can't wait for that as well. I think
we've still got a Prime Championship to play in Stirling.
Well, yeah, you guys have got to come up to Scotland, play in Stirling. Is it in Stirling? Yeah, it's in Stirling.
Oh.
Or was it Lanark? No, it was Lanark. It was at Nightly Gaming in Lanark. Anyway, it's in Scotland. Yes. But there's also the Ludicrous in Croydon, home of Sarah. That's her sort of home play group where I played that quite a few times. So, you know, if not Scotland, then maybe in Croydon, or I mean, if not, I'm sure we'll be seeing each other at a UK forthcoming championships or something like that.
Can I just have a few minutes to say a couple of things, Duncan?
Yeah, please go for it.
First thing I want to do is actually apologise to the guys at Destiny Junior because they've been trying to get me on to do a show at some point. But 3 a.m. on a Saturday morning isn't the easiest time for me to do that. So I do apologise. I will get there at some point.
I'm sorry to Destiny Junior as well if we've sort of stepped on your.
You guys, Destiny, everybody, Diggity Destiny, Hyperloops, off the sensors, Nico Base, literally everybody that does, and there'll be a few others that I've forgotten here as well. Everybody content creates that supports what we do and promotes what we do. We can't do this without you guys. I mean, we don't have a marketing budget. You guys, Ice Commando, and everybody has the right to say what they want to say. It's like a sports hot take. Sometimes that may cause tempers to rise and stuff, but that's human nature. We're human too. So yeah.
Well, we all love the game. That's ultimately what's behind it.
And we all come from the same thing about that. I mean, and no, I know that there's been the odd thing that's been said in the last couple of days and stuff that's kind of what it is, and that is what it is. People have an opinion. We're not here to silence anybody or tell people what they should do or how they should think. We just concentrate on putting out the best content we can, doing the best we can. We're not always going to get it right. We want to. We want it to be perfect, but we know that that's just never going to happen and never has happened in the history of card games.
Yeah, that's part of the drama. It's part of the history of every card game. It's part of it. You know, it's part of the community. You know, there's always going to be little things like that. But thanks for being so open with all your answers, giving us a little insight into ARH. And it's like you say, we're all really batting on the same side. We all want Destiny to continue as long as it can and be as good as it can. And I think that's what hopefully we're all working towards, which I think we are. So
yeah, can I just shout out to all of our design team, all the guys that come on design. We actually are working on something really cool that we can't announce right now because it's still in development, but hopefully you guys will see that in the next few months. All the guys work on playtest. They do lots of cool stuff in that regard. The amazing guys that work on the balance team. And like I said, every opinion valid. And particularly to Solis, to Sarah, and to Yomon Frere, who basically put up with my constant demands for art and style and OP. But they were the guys that put together all of that stuff that you see in the spot glosses, in the promos on the OP kits, what you're going to see in the upcoming Nationals kit. I mean, literally some of this stuff. And to our print partners as well, the guys that sort of do at Laser Gaming, at Twin Suns Gaming, at Aegis, at Kingswood, the guys that print what we do. We don't do this for money. They basically put our ideas into a practical reality.
Yeah, and a great job that they all do.
They do.
Great job they all do.
Thank you.
All right,
and that's enough promoting from me.
That's enough. You've done your Oscar acceptance speech. You can thank your family members off camera. The light is going on. That tells you that time is up. All right, Az. Well, thanks again. It's great to see you. And the sooner we can play again and have a beer in person, then the better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Surely it's your round as well.
It's always my round when you're involved. Okay, Az. All right. Thanks a lot.